This is Seth again from the beautiful Grand Wailea Resort here in stunning Maui, Hawaii. And I'm joined by one of our illustrious educational speakers, Garrett Montrone from Western Sheet Metal. How you doing, Garrett?
Good. How's it going?
Good, man. So your session, I think, is very fascinating. I think it's going to relate to a lot of members. And it's talking about almost like your company, you have a family company. And well, first off, before we start, just give us the quick little history of Western Sheet Metal.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, Western Sheet Metal, it was started by my grandfather in 1968. He first was a sheet metal worker for one of our competitor companies that's still alive to this day, but he did a little bit of side work while he was growing up, and he got caught after hours doing sheet metal work on his own. And so his boss was going home one day, and he pulled over and fired him right on the spot, and he blackballed him. So like a fun thing that my grandpa always would say is they forced me into business. I had no choice. I had to start a business. So anyway, he started his business, and he was a farmer. So he started it in his chicken coop when he was about my age, 30 years old, in his chicken coop. And my grandma would do the books in the living room at the time on their farm. And things escalated, and we've basically grown to be one of the most biggest and one of the premier contractors in Utah, where we're doing anything large and new build. We do all the HVAC and mechanical work for. So whether it's a hospital, laboratory, higher education, mission critical, anything you can think of, we pretty much will do for HVAC. Our sheet metal shop has grown throughout the years, and we have pretty much high technology, we're up with the times now, and currently my father is the one who runs the business and owns it, and I am a third generation. And I got my degree in management information systems from Utah State University, and then I went on to go to sheet metal school at our local JATC, and now I'm a journeyman there. And basically I've been at Western Sheet Metal for the last, 8 or 9 years, and it's what I do, man.
And it's the one that I looked over your your presentation, and I think it's talking about how bridging the technological gap within kind of any kind of company, especially the family business, that's got to be an interesting dynamic, because
big time. Yeah.
Your dad and your grandpa have this is the way we've done things, and you're like, we can do it better.
Yeah.
And how do you kind of negotiate that little?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when my grandpa started it, it was a time in America where you could just shake a hand and that you had the job, and there wasn't any technical things about it. But then my dad had to go through this crazy time where it was technical, and he was a very conservative leadership and ownership where he was just kind of following it by the book, as you should. So he wasn't really a big risk taker like my grandpa was when he first started it. And then here comes the third generation, me, where I've got educated in technology and have been in other companies where I've seen kind of how they're doing it. And then I come back and I say, hey, this is where the world's headed. You don't really have a choice. And it's whether this legacy wants to live on forever or you want it to end at you, it's your choice, but it's not like a reactive type of situation. It needs to be a thing you plan for. It's not something that you can just, oh my gosh, let's use it right now. And then you can just buy a license and it works. It's something that is a fundamental principle that you follow as something that's deeper into your business, where you are investing into the future, and it shows people who are working for you that you care about, the company, and you're looking forward. And it's not just something that you react to. It's something that you adopt fully into your whole philosophy of how you're running things. And my dad, I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for my situation, to where he has gone through some of the ups and downs and rocky roads as being conservative, to where I can come in and kind of bring in these ideas. And he is like, yeah, let's try it. But he's also very critical of me, to where if things aren't working, I take that on the chin, and I take that very personally. It's not something that I forget, and I won't be allowed to forget. But no, it's it's something that the world is facing, like it's technology has taken over our lives. It's something that, you guys looked at your phones at least 30 times today, just because you've been programmed to kind of do it in a way. But it's something that's overcome our lives, and we don't really have a choice. So I hope out of what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow is to kind of get other companies on board and to maybe take it into more of a philosophy type way where don't be reactive, but embrace the world that we live in and to really go after these adoptions, because you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. And one day you're going to wake up and it's going to be required, or for whatever reason, and it's going to be too late. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that you need to build on over time.
So give us kind of a specific example, kind of like a little anecdote of like an instance where you kind of took that approach within Western Sheet Metal and kind of give us an idea how it kind of resolved itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like a really long road, and it's been a lot of different scenarios that I've had to run into. But I mean, it's kind of like a can of worms that once you open one thing, it kind of starts to open up the whole spectrum of adoption of things. So, for example, when I first came over from Goldman Sachs to back to the family company, right? I'm in a totally different world. I go from Wall Street to where I'm at a family-owned business, and I'm running a plasma table, and the plasma table cuts all the fittings all perfectly, and it gets through the whole entire sheet, and at the very end of the sheet, for no reason whatsoever, it'll cut all the way through all of those fittings that it just did, and it wastes the sheet. And then I sit there. I'm like way personally hurt by this, and I go to the shop foreman, and I'm like, why did this happen? What's going on? And he's like, oh yeah, sometimes that happens. And I'm like, well, why? And then he's like, well, we don't really know why. And I'm like, well, is there a troubleshooting way? Like, can we figure something out? And then he opens up this cabinet, and it's this dusty binder, and then he blows it off, and we look at it, and we've already gone through the troubleshooting that's on this binder that hasn't been opened for 20 years or whatever. And then there's a number to call, and you call that number, and they've been out of business for over 10 years. So it's like there is no support, there is no troubleshooting, and there was no plan. And so I'm like, okay, well, now we really got to look into something like this and to figure out like maybe get a new plasma table or to retrofit it. And then, okay, let's retrofit it. What kind of program is there? Oh wait, what program does this retrofit work with? And then it starts to escalate into other things. And then you start to think about, well, how the company is currently set up. Data is basically managed and local to if you're a position in that shop, right? And if that person goes on a vacation for a day, nobody knows how to do their job, right? Nothing is integrated with a CAD, with a CAM, or everything else. And I could see how databases and things were separated and they weren't managed together. And one would be way more accurate than the other. And coming from where I worked at previously, you need live data all the time, perfect. People are trading on the stock exchange and everything else, and you need to be audible from whatever they have to go through. And I was like, things need to be singular. Things need to be together. And it kind of just, like I said, it just kind of opened up a box of worms to where it went from a retrofit to a plasma table, to the new CAM system, to a new CAD system, to a new estimating system, to where a new CRM, ERP. Like it basically, it just kind of escalates onto each other because you start to discover new things within information technology of businesses. And then you discover as well that your business heavily relies on information technology more than most sheet metal workers like to admit. Like a lot of guys in our industry don't like to think that they're technically savvy, or they don't like to believe that technology's like they ride on it so hard, but the truth is they truly do. And as time goes on and as the future comes in, they don't really have a choice. And it's more and more valuable to where intellectual property and their databases and everything like that is more valuable than they can ever imagine. It's almost, you can't even calculate it, in my opinion.
I mean, I've been to so many shops, and just call it the past year, and data management really is the name of the game. Like that is really what gives you the competitive edge, is because you're getting all these to your point, getting all these data points into, it's how do you digest that and how do you manage that and convert that into effective solutions? That almost sounds like what is really where
it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
I can't imagine.
It's people who, you have great workers who are super talented and they're very knowledgeable, and they're people who are, they're invaluable to where they've worked for you for 15 years, 20 years. You can't replace them, and one day when they get sick or a global pandemic happens and they're gone, and all of a sudden you realize these vulnerabilities of your company to where, man, we really need to make this so it's accessible for everybody in a way where it's not just one guy. It's everybody who can have access to it, right? And a lot of guys are like that today. Like most of our contractors in SMACNA, like we're all facing a labor shortage, right? It's something that 90% of contractors are facing, and over 50% of the workers in sheet metal are over the age of 45. And so the workers leaving compared to the workers coming in is 5 to 2. So there's clearly not enough people coming into the trade as we need and as the demand asks. So in my belief and in my philosophy, you don't have a choice but to try to integrate knowledge from your valuable guys who have been working for you for 30 years. Try to at least document some sort of wiki or some database that's really well, that these new leadership can come in and at least try to take that on, instead of it being some generational loss of knowledge, you know what I mean? So my philosophy is trying to get data and experience from your experienced workers into a database, at least in some format, and then have your young leaders in the new generation have something to use on the way going forward.
Going back to that, entering the workforce, there's brought up an interesting point, and it's a common theme I've heard from a lot, especially we're the younger generation, talking about you had one career path, here you are at Goldman Sachs, and then you can maybe say, quote unquote, you came home. What drove that decision? Because it's becoming a very common theme of folks in our generation who have ties to the industry go off another path, and then wait, what kind of?
Yeah, it was funny because it really was like an interesting pinpoint of my career, because I had actually other opportunities to go into some startups with some tech companies who today are doing really well, and they're doing a totally different, they're having tons of success. And at that time, I was getting promoted in Goldman Sachs, and my dad came to me and he asked me, he said, hey, look, I think this is something that you can do. This is something that not very many people can do, but I do believe that you could do it. This is kind of it's a legacy, and it's something that has given me a good life, and it's an honest job. And, I took that very personally because it is true. I've been very blessed. I've been very grateful for the things that I've had. And I don't care about necessarily the money or the opportunities that I've maybe missed along the way or the whole corporate ladder thing, but I care about the legacy of my family. It's true because, my grandpa, he's the perfect example of the American dream. He started from an alfalfa farm in West Valley, and now he's just this retired guy just living his great life playing golf 5 times a day, and he had nothing. He started out with nothing. He's an Italian farmer that had nothing, can barely understand his parents because they spoke Italian and he didn't, and it's just the perfect American dream, and it's something that I value greatly. And so it's not about money, it is about the legacy, and it's something I do I take a lot of passion in, and it's something I do care about. So when my dad did come back and ask me, I took a pay cut and I said, yes, let's do it. But, you're gonna have to trust me on some things, and he's been great. He has been great, but he's also held me accountable for a lot of things. So it's not like a easy ride by any means, but he's been very flexible with me, and I appreciate the opportunity that he even had any sort of faith that I could handle sheet metal. Because sheet metal, it is so not easy, and it is so not fun, and it is so, anybody in SMACNA knows that it's sheet metal is just not pretty, and it's not great in a lot of ways, but also at the same time, it's very satisfying, and it's, you get tangible returns from it. You get to drive down the street in the city and be like, hey, we helped build the HVAC system for that hospital, or hey, we did the HVAC for that building, or we built the sign for the Utah Jazz, or whatever. You know, it's cool to be able to look in your local community and be like, we did that. You know, so it's about the legacy of everything for me.
Well, we're really grateful that you kind of took on the opportunity to kind of carry on the legacy. It's been great. And Garrett, this has been awesome. I mean, we are grateful for the information you're going to give to our membership, and we're grateful for basically your membership in not only SMACNA, but just your engagement in the industry. We really appreciate that.
Hey, no problem. I gladly do it. And, you know, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be one. I just want to, you know, share my experience. And I want to raise the alarm. Like, the future is here. The technology is here. And in the next 5 years, it might be too late if you don't make any moves. So I would like people to maybe take it more seriously. Technology is not just looking at a phone or looking at a tablet. It's going to be a massive part of your business if you haven't already taken advantage of that. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
Well, I think you're doing some good work already.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, man. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thanks
Absolutely.
a lot.
No problem.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.